They managed to seize control of Velkari communication satellites, for Admiral Sunmi Cho looked at the fleet assembled around her. 230 ships floated in the darkness of space. Some were military destroyers and frigates. Most were civilian vessels with weapons welded to their hulls. Mining ships, cargo haulers, even a passenger liner converted into a missile platform. This was humanity's entire space force. Everything Earth had left. "Today we end this war," Sunmi said over the open channel. Every ship could hear her. "The Velkari came to our home thinking we were weak. We've spent 6 weeks proving them wrong. Now we prove it one final time." In the distance, the Velkari fleet orbited Earth. 108 warships remained from their original 300. Humanity had made them pay for every day of occupation. But the Velkari flagship was still there. A massive vessel 2 kilometers long. The High Commander was inside. While he lived, the war continued. "All ships," Sunmi ordered. "Attack formation random 9. Remember, we don't need to destroy them all. Just the flagship. Hit it with everything we have." The human fleet accelerated toward the Velkari. It wasn't pretty. Ships flew at different speeds. Some veered left, others right. There was no perfect formation. That was the point. The Velkari expected organized military tactics. Instead, they got chaos. Lieutenant Jiwan led her fighter squadron ahead of the main fleet. 50 small fighters against massive warships, but they had learned tricks over the past weeks. "Target their sensors," Jiwan ordered. "Blind them." Her fighters launched missiles that exploded into clouds of metal fragments. The debris didn't damage the Velkari ships much, but it scrambled their sensors. Suddenly, the aliens couldn't see clearly. Behind the fighter screen, Captain Dong Hyun commanded 20 converted mining ships. They were slow, ugly, but each one carried enough explosives to crack an asteroid. "We're just missiles with pilots," Dong Hyun told his crews. "Get close. Aim for the flagship. If we die taking it with us." The Velkari fleet opened fire. Energy beams and missiles streaked through space. 3 human ships exploded immediately. Then 5 more. Then 10, but the rest kept coming. On Earth's surface, Sang-woo watched the battle on screens in his command bunker. Around him, resistance fighters waited nervously. Everything depended on the fleet winning. "Come on," he whispered. "Come on." In space, Captain Kyung-hae led a boarding team and captured Velkari shuttles. While the big battle raged, her 12 shuttles slipped through the chaos. They looked like Velkari craft. The enemy sensors ignored them. "Approaching the flagship's hangar," Kyung-hae reported. "They haven't noticed us yet." Her shuttles flew into the massive hangar bay of the flagship. Velkari crew members stared in confusion as the shuttles landed. Why were their own craft returning during battle? The shuttle doors opened. 300 human Marines poured out, weapons firing. The Velkari crew in the hangar weren't combat soldiers. They were mechanics and pilots. They fell quickly. "Team 1, take engineering," Kyung-hae ordered. "Team 2, the bridge. Team 3, find the High Commander, move." The Marines split up and ran into the ship. Alarms began blaring. The Velkari realized too late that enemies were inside their flagship. Outside, Admiral Sunmi saw the boarding shuttles disappear into the flagship. "Now!" she shouted. "All ships, focus fire on the flagship." Every human vessel that could still shoot turned their weapons on the massive Velkari command ship. Missiles, lasers, railgun rounds. Even one cargo ship that just rammed into the flagship's shields at full speed. The Velkari shields flickered under the assault. They were strong, but not infinite. Inside the ship, Kyung-hae's Marines fought deck by deck. The Velkari soldiers inside were elite guards. Bigger, stronger, better armed. But the humans had been fighting for 6 weeks. They knew every trick. Grenades rolled around corners. Shots came from unexpected angles. The Marines advanced like a flood, unstoppable. "Bridge secured," reported one team leader. "Engineering secured," called another. "I've found the High Commander," said a third voice. "He's in his personal quarters." Defended by 20 guards, Kyung-hae ran toward that location. She arrived to find her Marines pinned down in a corridor. Energy blasts from Velkari weapons made it impossible to advance. "Breach charges," Kyung-hae ordered. Her Marines planted explosives on the walls, not the door where the Velkari expected. The walls the charges detonated. The Marines poured through the holes from 3 directions at once. The Velkari guards were skilled, but they couldn't defend everywhere. The fight was brutal. Close range, desperate. When it ended, 12 Marines lay dead. All 20 Velkari guards were down, and the High Commander stood alone in his quarters, his weapon empty. Kyung-Hai pointed her rifle at him. "Surrender," she said in Velkari. She had learned some of their language. The High Commander looked at her. This small human female who had captured him. He thought about his 300 years of victories, of the 47 systems he had conquered, and he knew it was over. "I surrender," he said. Outside, the Velkari fleet saw their flagship's shields fail completely. They watched as escape pods began launching from the ship. Human Marines were evacuating before scuttling it. The Velkari captains faced a choice: keep fighting without their commander or surrender. One by one, their weapons powered down. Admiral Sunmi could barely believe it. "All ships, cease fire!" "Repeat ceasefire." The battle stopped. Human ships and Velkari ships floated in space, weapons silent. "This is Admiral Sunmi Cho of Earth Defense Force," she broadcast on all frequencies. "The Velkari High Commander has been captured. Your flagship is lost. Surrender now and you will be treated fairly under the rules of war. Continue fighting and we will destroy every one of your ships." The silence stretched. Then one Velkari captain responded, "We surrender." Then another, and another. Within an hour, the entire Velkari fleet had powered down their weapons. The war was over. Humanity had won. On Earth, people poured into the streets. They cried. They cheered. They hugged strangers. After 6 weeks of fear and death, it was finally over. Sang-woo stood in Seoul looking at the sky. Around him, his resistance fighters were celebrating. Some were laughing. Some were crying. Many were just silent, trying to process that they had survived. "We did it," said Haewon, standing next to him. "We actually did it," Sang-woo nodded. He thought about all the people who hadn't lived to see this moment. Thousands of soldiers. Millions of civilians. The price had been terrible, but they had won. In her bunker, President Hae-jin Choi received the surrender message. She sat down heavily. For 6 weeks she had barely slept. Every decision had meant life or death for millions. "Draft the terms of surrender," she told her staff. "We'll be fair but firm. The Velkari will face justice for what they did. But we won't destroy them. We're better than that." Dr. Jiwoo Park watched the celebration from her lab. Around her, equipment for making biological weapons sat silent. She would destroy all of it tomorrow. Those weapons had saved Earth, but they should never exist again. "We opened Pandora's box," she said to herself, "but now we can close it again." Captain Dong-hyun's mining ship had been destroyed in the final battle, but he had escaped in a pod. Now he floated among the debris, waiting for pickup. He thought about his crew. Half of them hadn't made it. "We won," he said to the stars. "We won, but it hurt." Lieutenant Ji-won landed her fighter on a military base. She had been flying for 16 hours straight. When she climbed out of the cockpit, her legs almost gave out. Ground crew ran to help her. "You did it, Lieutenant," one shouted. "We won!" Ji-won smiled weakly. "Yeah," she said. "We won." Then she collapsed. Not from wounds, just from exhaustion. She had given everything she had. On the captured flagship, Kyung-hae stood guard over the High Commander. The alien sat with his hands bound, staring at nothing. "Why did you attack us?" Kyung-hae asked. She wanted to understand. The High Commander looked at her. "Because you looked weak," he said. "Your broadcast showed peace, culture, art. We saw no weapons. No military parades. We thought you were soft." "We are peaceful," Kyung-hae said. "But peaceful and defenseless are not the same thing." "I understand that now," the High Commander said quietly. "Too late." "I destroyed my empire because I could not see the difference." Kyung-hae nodded. She felt no pleasure in his defeat, only sadness at the waste of it all. In orbit around Earth, Admiral Sunmi began the long process of accepting Velkari surrenders. Each ship had to be boarded. Each crew had to be disarmed. It would take days, but there was time now. The war was over. Admiral Taewon addressed Earth from the main command center. His face appeared on screens around the world. "People of Earth," he said, "today we achieved the impossible. We defeated an empire that had conquered 47 star systems. We did it because we refused to surrender, because we fought with everything we had, because we are human. And humans do not go quietly into the dark." He paused. "But victory has a cost. 300 million of our people died. Dozens of cities are damaged. Our fleet is in ruins. We will mourn them. We will rebuild. And we will remember what we learned." That peace is precious because we know the price of war. Around the world, people watched and listened. Some cheered. Some cried. All understood that Earth had changed forever. The species that loved peace had shown the galaxy what happened when you forced them to fight. And the galaxy... Ambassador Yunji Kang sat in a communication room deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. On her screen appeared the faces of representatives from 7 different alien species. All of them had one thing in common. They were conquered subjects of the Velkari Dominion. "Why should we trust you?" asked a reptilian creature from the Theron system. "Your species is about to be destroyed." "Are we?" Yunji replied calmly. She played a video. It showed human fighters destroying the Velkari supply depot on the moon. Then it showed Velkari troops retreating from New Delhi. Then footage of a Velkari warship exploding in orbit. "The Velkari came to Earth expecting an easy victory," Yunji said. "It's been 4 weeks. They're still here, but they're not winning. They're dying." The aliens watched silently. This was something they had never seen. "The Velkari losing. If we can fight them, so can you," Yunji continued. "Rise up, attack their supply lines. Sabotage their factories. Make them fight on multiple fronts. They can't conquer everyone if everyone fights back." One by one, the alien representatives nodded. Within days, rebellions began across 3 Velkari-controlled star systems. The Dominion's perfect empire started to crack. Meanwhile, Captain Kyung-Hae Park prepared for the most dangerous mission of the war. She stood in the briefing room of a captured Velkari shuttle, surrounded by 40 Marines. All volunteers, all knowing they might not come back. "Our target is damaged Velkari command ship in lunar orbit," Kyung-Hae explained. She pointed to a hologram of the alien vessel. "It was hit by our fighters yesterday. Life support is failing. They're trying to repair it. So we board it before they can fix it," said one Marine. "Exactly," Kyung-Hae said. "We take the ship. We take their computers. We learn everything they know." The Marines checked their weapons. Assault rifles, explosives, close combat gear. This was going to be brutal. The shuttle approached the damaged Velkari ship. It looked like a giant knife over 1 kilometer long with portions of its hull torn open. "Perfect for boarding. Go, go, go!" Kyung-Hae shouted. Marines in spacesuits jumped from the shuttle and flew toward the holes in the ship. They landed inside corridors lit by emergency lights. Alarms blared everywhere. The Velkari weren't prepared for this kind of attack. They expected space battles or maybe missile strikes, not soldiers actually boarding their ships. Kyung-Hae led her team through the corridors. They moved fast and aggressive. When they encountered Velkari soldiers, they didn't hesitate. Gunfire echoed through metal halls. The close quarters made the alien size advantage useless. "Bridge ahead," someone shouted. They blasted through the door with explosives. Inside, 3 Velkari officers scrambled for weapons. The Marines were faster. The fight was over in seconds. Kyung-Hae went straight to the computer systems. She plugged in a device prepared by Nari's hacker team. "Downloading everything," she said. 2 minutes. Those 2 minutes felt like hours. More Velkari soldiers were coming. The Marines held the doorway, but ammunition was running low. "Got it," Kyung-Hae finally shouted. "Fall back to the shuttle." The retreat was harder than the attack. Velkari reinforcements had arrived. The Marines fought their way back, leaving mines and traps behind them. They lost 8 people, but the rest made it to the shuttle. As they flew away, the Velkari ship finally lost power completely. It drifted dead in space. Back on Earth, Dr. Young-Sik Nam and Dr. Ji-Woo Park studied the stolen data. What they found changed everything. "Look at this," Ji-Woo said, pointing at a star map. "The Velkari Dominion controls 47 systems, but most of them were captured in the last 100 years. Before that, they only had 12 systems. So they're younger than they claimed," Young-Sik said. "More than that," Ji-Woo pulled up more files. "Look at their military history. They've fought 38 different species. Every single one surrendered within a month. Most within a week." Young-Sik understood. "They've never faced real resistance." "Exactly. They conquered peaceful scientists and traders. Species with advanced technology but no military traditions. They never fought someone who knew how to fight. And now they're stuck fighting us," Young-Sik said with a grim smile. "A species that spent 10,000 years at war with itself." They brought the information to Admiral Taewan immediately. He read through it and felt hope for the first time in weeks. "They're weaker than we thought," he said. "If we can push them hard enough, they might break completely." He called a meeting with all military commanders. "We're changing strategy," Taewon announced. "No more just defending. We're going to attack their fleet directly. Hit them where they feel safe." "Sir, we don't have enough ships," one admiral protested. "Then we make more," Taewon said. "Every civilian vessel becomes a weapon. We strap missiles to cargo ships. We fill ore haulers with explosives and fly them into Velkari cruisers. We use everything." President Hyojin approved the plan. "Do it," she said. "Show them what total war means." Lieutenant Jiwon led the first major space offensive. 87 human vessels of all types assembled near Earth. Only 20 were actual military ships. The rest were converted civilian craft. Against them, the Velkari sent 50 warships. On paper, the Velkari had the advantage, but paper doesn't account for tactics, for creativity, for desperation. "All ships," G1 broadcast. "Execute chaos pattern." The human fleet didn't attack in formation. They scattered like insects. They came from every direction at once. Some ships launched missiles and ran. Others tried to ram. A few haulers just exploded themselves near Velkari vessels. It was messy. It was chaotic. It was effective. The Velkari formation broke apart trying to target so many threats at once. Their powerful shields and weapons were designed for organized fleet battles. This wasn't a fleet battle. This was a brawl. When the fighting ended, 38 human ships were destroyed. But the Velkari lost 21. For the first time since the war began, Earth came out ahead in a direct confrontation. On the ground, Sangwoo's resistance had grown into a full army. Thousands of fighters now coordinated their attacks. They had learned to use Velkari weapons captured from dead soldiers. They knew the aliens' patrol patterns and communication codes. In New Delhi, Sangwoo led an assault on a Velkari command post. 200 humans against 50 Velkari soldiers. The aliens should have won easily, but the humans attacked at night using the darkness their human eyes could handle better than Velkari vision. They used smoke to confuse sensors. They attacked from tunnels below and rooftops above at the same time. The Velkari soldiers fought bravely, but they were trained for honorable combat, not this kind of dirty, vicious fighting. When morning came, the command post was in human hands. The surviving Velkari soldiers surrendered. It was the first time in the war that Velkari troops had surrendered in significant numbers. News of the victories spread across Earth. People who had been hiding came out to fight. Resistance cells doubled in size. Factories increased production. The tide was turning. The Velkari High Commander watched it all from his flagship. He had expected to be leaving Earth by now, moving on to the next conquest. Instead, he was trapped here, bleeding ships and soldiers every day. He called a meeting with his senior officers. "We cannot win this war," he said finally. The words were bitter in his mouth. His officers stared in shock. No Velkari commander had ever admitted defeat. "But we cannot admit defeat either," the High Commander continued. "Our empire is built on the fear of our strength. If we surrender to these humans, every species we conquered will rebel." "What do you suggest?" asked his second. "We ask for reinforcements from the homeworld," the High Commander said. "Triple our fleet size. Burn this planet if we must. We cannot lose here," the message was sent. The response would take weeks to arrive. On Earth, President Hyojin received intelligence about the Velkari message. She smiled. "They're calling for help," she told Admiral Taewon. "That means we're winning." "But if reinforcements arrive, we're finished," Taewon said. "Then we make sure this war is over before they get here," Hyojin replied. "How long until reinforcements could arrive?" "Best case for us, 6 weeks. Worst case, 3. Then we have 3 weeks to win this war," Hyojin said. She turned to her military leaders. "Everything we have, every weapon, every soldier, we end this now." Dr. Young-sik presented a new weapon. "We call it the Darwin Protocol," he said. "We produce 3 generations of weapons in quick succession, each one designed to counter the Velkari's latest defenses." He showed them plans for new missiles, new chemical agents, new electronic warfare systems. "They need months to develop new technology," Young-sik explained. "We're doing it in weeks." "They can't adapt fast enough." "How is that possible?" asked a general. "Because we're desperate," Young-sik said simply. "And desperation makes humans creative." Commander Bo-Ra's Biological Warfare Division created something new. A weapon that wouldn't kill Velkari soldiers but would make them desperately sick and terrified. It attacked their nervous systems, causing hallucinations and paranoia. "Is this ethical?" One scientist asked. Bora thought about that. Is anything about this war ethical? But would you rather they kill more humans? This makes them surrender instead of fight. The weapon was deployed. Within days, entire Velkari units reported seeing things that weren't there. They became afraid of shadows. Some refused to leave their bunkers. Nari's hackers achieved their greatest victory. That we made them pay for every inch of our world. He looked up at the screen. Shoei Commander Bora Shin walked through the underground laboratory wearing a full protective suit. Around her, scientists worked behind sealed glass walls. They were creating things that should never exist. But these were desperate times. Show me the results, she said to Dr. Jiwoo Park. Jiwoo pulled up a video on a tablet. It showed a Velkari soldier in a captured uniform. The alien looked sick. Its scales were dull. It moved slowly. After 30 seconds, it collapsed. This is strain 7, Jiwoo explained. Modified from human flu virus. To us, it causes mild fever. To them, it shuts down their nervous system. How do we deliver it? Bora asked. Air systems in the areas they control. Water supplies. Even just releasing it in the wind. They have no protection against biological attacks because they never evolved to handle them. Bora felt sick to her stomach. This was terrible work. Necessary but terrible. Deploy it, she said. All strains. Everywhere they have troops. Within hours, invisible death spread through Velkari positions. At first, the aliens didn't notice anything. Then soldiers started getting tired, weak. Their aim got worse. Some started seeing things that weren't there. Others collapsed during patrol. The Velkari medical officers had no idea what was happening. They checked for poison, for radiation, for anything they understood. But viruses and bacteria were beyond their knowledge. Their species had never needed to understand disease. In Seoul, Sang-woo Yoon and his resistance cell waited in the darkness of a subway tunnel. They had learned the Velkari patrol schedules. Every 4 hours, a squad of 10 soldiers walked down Main Street above them. Sang-woo had placed explosives under the street. Simple bombs made from materials anyone could buy before the war, but they would work. Here they come, whispered a young woman named Hae-won. She was watching through a periscope. Sang-woo waited, his finger on the detonator. He could hear the heavy footsteps of Velkari soldiers above. 10 soldiers, each one probably worth 5 humans in direct combat. But this wasn't direct combat. He pressed the button. The street exploded upward. The boom shook the tunnel. Dust fell from the ceiling. Move! Sang-woo shouted. His team ran through the tunnels, already heading to the next ambush point. Above, the Velkari scrambled to help their wounded. But by the time they organized, the humans were gone. This same scene played out across the world. Humans didn't fight the Velkari in open battle. They hit and ran. They used bombs. They poisoned food supplies. They hacked communications. Every dirty trick learned from thousands of years of human warfare. Dr. Young-sik Nam stood in a weapons facility that used to make tractors. Now it made chemical weapons, nerve agents that could kill with one breath, acids that could burn through Velkari armor, toxins that attacked their alien biology. How many can we produce per day? Asked Admiral Taewon. He had come to inspect the facility. 5,000 units, Young-sik replied. We have 40 facilities like this across Earth and Mars. Taewon did the math. 200,000 chemical weapons per day. It was horrible. But against an enemy with 300 capital ships and millions of soldiers, they needed every advantage. Keep producing, Taewon said. And Doctor, I want you to develop something else, something that scares them. What do you mean? I want weapons that make them afraid, Taewon explained. Not just kill them, but terrify them. Make them not want to fight us. Young-sik understood. Fear was a weapon too. He went back to work. Lieutenant Ji-won Han stood in the briefing room with her remaining pilots. Only 12 of the 30 who left Mars were still alive. But they had learned much in those weeks of desperate fighting. The Velkari fight like they're on a parade ground, she told her pilots. Perfect formations. Predictable patterns. They expect us to do the same. So we don't. She pulled up a battle plan on the screen. It showed human fighters hiding inside asteroid fields behind Earth's moon, even in the upper atmosphere where the Velkari ships moved slowly. We don't attack their strength, Ji-won said. We attack their supply lines, their transport ships, their communications relays. We make them afraid to leave their big ships. One pilot raised his hand. Ma'am, command says we've destroyed 15 Velkari ships in the past week. Is that true? Yes, Jiwan said. Small ships mostly, frigates, transports, but each one we destroy is one less they have. Death by 1,000 cuts, her pilots nodded. They understood. Earth couldn't win with big battles, but maybe they could win with many small victories. In her underground office, a woman named Narration sat in front of 6 computer screens. She led a group of hackers from around the world. Before the war, they had been criminals or activists. Now they were soldiers. I'm inside their communications network, said one hacker from Brazil. Good, Nari replied. Send them false orders. Make their troops think command wants them to retreat. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. The Velkari had advanced technology, but their cybersecurity was basic. They never faced an enemy that fought in digital space. Nari found their fleet's central database. She couldn't destroy it, but she could corrupt it. Change numbers, alter coordinates, make them doubt their own information. Target their supply system next, she ordered her team. Make it show they have more food and ammunition than they really do. When they run out, it'll cause chaos. Across orbit, Velkari supply officers started seeing strange reports. Ships requesting fuel that should still be full. Ammunition counts that didn't match inventory. At first, they thought it was simple errors. Then they realized someone was inside their systems. But by then it was too late. The damage was done. On his flagship, the Velkari High Commander stared at reports that made no sense. His troops on the ground were getting sick. Not wounded. Not killed in battle, just sick. Something was making them weak and confused. His supply lines kept getting attacked, not by military ships, by converted civilian vessels. Mining ships with weapons welded on, cargo haulers loaded with explosives, even a passenger liner that rammed one of his destroyers. And the humans wouldn't stop. Every city was a fortress, every street a battlefield. His troops were exhausted from constant ambush attacks. How many casualties? He asked his second officer. 15,000 dead. 40,000 wounded or sick. We've lost 23 ships. The High Commander's claws clenched. In 300 years of conquest, he had never lost more than a few hundred soldiers taking a planet. Here, in 3 weeks, he had lost 15,000. Send a message to the humans, he said. Offer them surrender terms. Tell them if they stop fighting now, we'll spare most of their population. The message was sent. President Haijin Choi received it in her bunker. She read it once. Then she laughed. It wasn't a happy laugh. Send this back to them, she told her communications officer. She began typing. To the Velkari High Commander, we decline your generous offer. You came to our home and declared war. You gave us 72 hours to surrender or die. We chose to fight. Now you want mercy? Come down here and ask us face to face. But I warn you, the answer will be the same. The message was sent. The High Commander read it and felt something he hadn't felt in decades. Doubt. Captain Donghyun Lee commanded a small fleet of 20 modified civilian ships. They weren't pretty. His flagship was a mining vessel called Lucky Dragon. It had a drill on the front and missile pods welded to the sides. Target spotted, reported his sensor officer. Velkari transport heading toward Earth, light escort. All ships, Donghyun ordered. Attack pattern, random 7. His fleet broke formation and attacked from different angles. They didn't fly straight like military ships. They zigged and zagged. They used thruster bursts to dodge. They weren't trying to look good. They were trying to survive. The Velkari escort ship fired at them. Its weapons were powerful and accurate. But the human ships were small and fast. Most of the shots missed. Donghyun's ship came in close to the transport. Too close for the escort to shoot without hitting their own vessel. Fire the drill, he shouted. The mining drill, designed to crack asteroids, hit the transport's hull. It punched through like a can opener. Air and cargo exploded into space. All ships retreat, Donghyun ordered. His fleet scattered in 20 different directions. The Velkari escort tried to chase but couldn't catch them all. Another victory. Small but important. Back on Earth, the war continued street by street. Sangwoo's resistance network had grown. Now thousands of cells operated across the planet. They shared information through secret codes. They coordinated attacks through hidden messages. The Velkari tried to stop them. But for every human they captured, 10 more took their place. The aliens were fighting an entire planet, an entire species that refused to quit. Dr. Jiwoo looked at the latest reports. The biological weapons were working better than expected. Velkari casualties from disease were now higher than from combat. The aliens were starting to wear protective suits. but that made them slower and easier to fight. "We're winning the invisible war," she told Commander Bo-Ra. "But they still hold 30% of the surface," Bo-Ra replied. "And their fleet is still in orbit. Give it time," Ji-Woo said. "Every day they stay here, they get weaker. Every day we learn more about how to hurt them." Admiral Taewon called a meeting of all senior officers. They met through secure video link from bunkers around the world. The first Valkyrie missiles hit Earth's orbital defense platforms at dawn. Captain Dong-Hyun Lee watched from the bridge of his destroyer, the Indomitable, as 3 stations exploded into fire and metal. Each station had 50 people inside. Now they were just debris floating in space. "Return fire," Dong-Hyun shouted. His crew worked fast, launching missiles and firing railguns. The weapons streaked toward the nearest Valkyrie ship. They hit the alien shields and disappeared like raindrops on a windshield. "Shields at 98%, reported his weapons officer. "Our weapons aren't doing anything." Dong-Hyun gritted his teeth. Around him, Earth's defense fleet tried everything. Missiles, lasers, magnetic rounds. Nothing worked. The Valkyrie shields were too strong. But the alien weapons cut through human ships like they were made of paper. He watched the destroyer Seoul explode to his left. The carrier Mumbai broke in half to his right. 70 ships were trying to stop the Valkyrie advance. In the first hour, 20 were destroyed. "Sir, we need to retreat," his second officer said. "No," Dong-Hyun said. "We hold this line. Every minute we buy, more civilians get to the bunkers." But even he knew they couldn't win. Not like this. On Mars, Lieutenant Ji-Won Han climbed into her fighter cockpit. She was 23 years old and had been flying for only 2 years. Around her, 30 other fighters prepared to launch. They were being sent to help Earth. "This is a suicide mission," said her wingman over the radio. "We all know it." "Probably," Ji-Won replied. She checked her weapons. 2 missiles, 1 laser cannon, against ships that could destroy cities. But someone has to try. The fighters launched from Mars and burned toward Earth at full speed. It would take them 6 hours to arrive. Ji-Won spent those hours thinking about her family on Earth. Her mother. Her little brother. They were in a bunker in Busan. She hoped they were safe. When her squadron reached Earth's orbit, the battle was already lost. Valkyrie ships surrounded the planet like a metal fence. Dead human ships floated everywhere. "Break into teams," Ji-Won ordered. "Use the debris as cover. Hit and run. Don't let them target you." She dove her fighter behind a broken satellite. A Valkyrie frigate moved below her. She waited, watched. The alien ship was huge. Its shields glowed blue. But Ji-Won noticed something. When the ship turned, the shields flickered for just a second. A tiny gap. "I have an idea," she said into her radio. She waited until the frigate started to turn. Then she fired both missiles at the exact moment the shields flickered. The missiles slipped through the gap and hit the ship's hull. Explosions bloomed along its side. "It works," her wingman shouted. "The shields have a weakness when they turn." The information spread through the remaining human forces. It wasn't much, but it was something. Meanwhile, on Earth's surface, the Valkyrie began landing troops. Giant transport ships descended on 5 continents. Their doors opened and out marched the Valkyrie soldiers. 7 feet tall, covered in armor, carrying weapons that shot blue energy. In Seoul, Sang Woo-yoon stood on a rooftop and watched them come. He was an engineer, not a soldier, but he had a rifle in his hands anyway. Around him, his neighbors held weapons too, teachers, doctors, store owners, all ready to fight. "They're so big," whispered the woman next to him. She was shaking. "Bigger things have fallen," Sang-woo said. He didn't feel as brave as he sounded. The Valkyrie marched down the street below. They moved in perfect formation, like they were on parade. They expected humans to run and hide. Instead, Sang-woo and 20 others opened fire from the rooftops and windows. Bullets hit the Valkyrie armor. Most bounced off, but some found gaps. 2 aliens fell. The others scattered looking for cover. "Keep shooting," Sang-woo yelled. "They bleed just like anything else." But the Valkyrie returned fire. Their energy weapons blew holes in buildings. The woman next to Sang-woo was hit. She fell without a sound. Sang-woo pulled back into the building. His heart pounded. His hands shook. But his mind was already working. He was an engineer. He knew this city. Every subway tunnel. Every sewer line. Every underground passage. "Follow me," he told the others. "I know how we can hurt them." By the end of the first day, the Valkyrie controlled the landing zones around their transport ships. But that was all. Everywhere else, humans fought back. Not organized, not coordinated, but they fought. Back in the underground command center, Admiral Taiwan looked at the maps. The situation was bad. 60% of Earth's space fleet was destroyed. Velkari troops were on every continent. They had air superiority, but something strange was happening. The Velkari advance was slowing down. Dr. Jiwoo entered the command center. She looked tired but excited. "I found something," she said. She pulled up information on the main screen. "I've been studying the Velkari soldiers we killed. Their biology is exactly what I thought. They have almost no immune system. They never evolved to fight diseases." "What does that mean?" Taiwan asked. "It means we can make them sick," Jiwoo said quietly. "Not kill them immediately. That would be too obvious. But we can weaken them. Make them slow. Make them confused." Taiwan understood. Biological warfare. "They'll never see it coming," Jiwoo said. "Their entire history shows they never faced an enemy who used biology as a weapon. They don't even have words for virus or bacteria in their language." "Will it work?" "It has to," Jiwoo said. "Because if it doesn't, we're all dead in a week." Taiwan looked around the command center, at all the young faces watching him. "Waiting for orders. Do it," he said. "Deploy everything we have. Chemical weapons, biological agents, anything that can hurt them." One of his officers looked shocked. "Sir, those weapons are banned." "We signed treaties." "We signed treaties with humans," Taiwan said coldly. "These aliens declared war on us. They wanted to see what humanity is capable of. Let's show them." President Hyejin appeared on the screen from her bunker. She had heard everything. "Admiral Kim is right," she said. "Activate Protocol Pandora. Full authorization. Every weapon. Every tactic. We didn't start this war, but we're going to finish it." She looked directly at the camera. She knew her words would be recorded. That history would judge her. "I want everyone to understand something," she said. "What we're about to do is terrible. We locked these weapons away because we knew how horrible they were. But the Velkari left us no choice. When this is over, when we've won, we'll lock them away again. But right now survival is all that matters." She paused. "The Velkari thought we were weak because we chose peace. They're about to learn that choosing peace and being weak are not the same thing. They're about to learn what 10,000 years of human warfare really means." Across Earth, factories began working at full speed. Some made traditional weapons. Others made things that hadn't been produced in over a century. Nerve agents, biological weapons, chemical bombs. Every dark thing humanity had created. Captain Dong Hyun, his destroyer destroyed, took command of a mining ship. He gathered other survivors. They began planning guerrilla attacks, hit and run, ambush and retreat. All the tactics humans learned fighting each other for thousands of years. Lieutenant Jiwon landed on a military base that was somehow still standing. Her fighter was damaged but flying. She immediately began teaching other pilots her trick. How to hit Velkari shields when they flickered. It wasn't much. But every alien ship they destroyed was one less killing humans. Sang-woo led a group through the subway tunnels under Seoul. They carried explosives made from fertilizer and fuel. Simple bombs that humans had used for centuries. They planted them along the routes where Velkari troops would patrol. In the Velkari flagship above Earth, the High Commander looked at the reports. They confused him. Yes, his forces controlled the landing zones. Yes, his fleet had destroyed most of the human space vessels. But something was wrong. His troops on the ground were fighting harder than expected. Buildings became fortresses. Streets became killing zones. These humans didn't fight with honor. They hid, they ambushed. They used dirty tricks. "Send more troops," he ordered. "Double the forces in every city. These primitives need to learn their place." But in his mind, a small doubt began to grow. In 300 years of conquest, he had never seen a species fight like this. They should be terrified. They should be begging for mercy. Instead, they were getting more dangerous. On Earth, President Hee-jin broadcast a message to everyone. Humans and aliens alike could hear her words. "People of Earth," she said, "I will not lie to you. We are losing this battle, but we are not beaten. Our ancestors survived ice ages. They survived plagues. They survived wars that killed millions. We have their blood in our veins. We have their stubbornness in our hearts." She looked directly into the camera. "To the Velkari, I say this: you picked the wrong planet. You wanted a quick victory over a weak species. Instead, you woke something you don't understand. Humanity at peace is strong. But humanity at war is unstoppable. You're about to find out why. The broadcast ended. Admiral Taiwan stood in the command center. Around him, officers prepared for the next phase of the war. "Sir," one officer said quietly, "what if this doesn't work? What if we use everything and still lose?" Taiwan thought about that for a moment. Then he smiled grimly. "Then we make sure they remember us," he said. "We make sure every species in the galaxy knows that Earth didn't go quietly, that humanity fought to the last." The stars above Earth flickered as hundreds of massive ships appeared in the darkness of space. They were bigger than anything humans had ever built. Their metal hulls reflected the distant sun as they moved closer to the blue planet below. Admiral Taewon Kim stood in the command center of Earth's main defense station. His gray uniform was neat and pressed, but his face showed worry. The screens in front of him displayed the alien fleet. 300 ships. Each one could probably destroy 10 human vessels without breaking a sweat. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," said a young officer. Her hands shook as she worked the controls. "Put it on screen," Taewon said. His voice was calm, but his heart raced. The screen filled with an alien face. The creature had scales like a lizard and eyes that glowed amber in the dark. It was tall, maybe 7 feet, with broad shoulders covered in some kind of armor. When it spoke, the translation software turned its words into English. "Primitive humans of Earth," the alien said. Its voice was deep and cold. "I am High Commander of the Velkari Dominion. We have watched your world for 6 months. You are weak. Your bodies are soft. Your weapons are toys. We have conquered 47 star systems in 300 years. You will surrender in 72 hours, or we will cleanse your planet of all life. This is not a negotiation. This is a fact." The screen went black. Taewon looked around the room. Every face showed fear. He understood why. Earth had only 89 military ships in space. Most were small patrol boats. Humanity had colonies on Mars and Europa, but they were still new, still learning. Against this alien armada, Earth looked like a child facing a giant. "Get me President Choi," Taewon said. "Now." Across the planet, Dr. Jiwoo Park was already studying the alien transmission in her lab. She was the chief scientist at the First Contact Initiative. For years, she had dreamed of meeting aliens, but not like this. Never like this. She played the video again and again, watching the Velkari commander. Her computer analyzed every detail. The way it moved, the color of its scales, the structure of its armor. "Interesting," she whispered to herself. She noticed something. The alien's armor was thick but smooth. No scratches, no dents, like it had never been in a real fight. She zoomed in on its face. The scales were perfect. Too perfect. Like someone who had never been sick. Never been hurt. Her assistant came running into the lab. "Dr. Park, the president wants you at the emergency meeting. Right now." Jiwoo grabbed her tablet and ran. The emergency meeting happened deep underground in a bunker beneath Geneva. Leaders from every nation on Earth appeared on screens that covered the walls. In the center of the room sat President Hae-jin Choi. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and gray hair tied back in a tight bun. Admiral Taewon explained the situation. The numbers were not good. 300 alien warships versus 89 human ships. The aliens had weapons that could burn through steel like paper. They had shields that could stop missiles. Their ships were faster and stronger. "We should surrender," said one general from Europe. "We have no choice. If we fight, they'll kill everyone. If we surrender, they'll make us slaves," said another leader. "Look at their message. They call us primitive. They think we're animals." The room erupted in argument. Some wanted to surrender. Some wanted to fight. Some wanted to run and hide on Mars or the moons of Jupiter. President Hae-jin raised her hand. The room fell silent. "Dr. Park," she said, looking at Jiwoo, "you've studied the transmission. What can you tell us about these aliens?" Jiwoo stood up. She was nervous but forced herself to speak clearly. "The Velkari evolved on a low-gravity world. You can see it in how they move. Their bones are lighter than ours. They also come from a very clean environment. I don't think they have strong immune systems. Look at their armor. It's perfect. They've never faced enemies who use chemical weapons or biological warfare. Every species they conquered probably fought the same way they do. Big ships, energy weapons. Honor and glory, what are you saying?" asked Taewon. "I'm saying they don't know what they're dealing with," Jiwoo said quietly. "They think we're weak because we prefer peace. They've studied us for 6 months, but they only saw what we wanted them to see. Cities, farms, space stations. They didn't study our history. President Hyejin nodded slowly. She understood. Admiral Kim, she said, prepare our forces. We will not surrender. Ma'am, Taewon said carefully. We cannot win this fight. Not with conventional warfare. Then we won't fight conventionally, Hyejin said. Her voice was cold as ice. These aliens made a mistake. They think humanity is soft because we built peace. They don't understand that we chose peace. We weren't born into it. She stood up and looked at every face on every screen. Our species spent 10,000 years fighting itself. We burned cities. We created diseases. We split atoms. We made weapons so terrible that we locked them away and promised never to use them again. We did all that to each other. Imagine what we can do to an enemy we actually hate. The room was silent. They want war? Hyejin continued. Then we'll show them what human war really looks like. Not the clean war they know. Not the honorable war they expect. Real war, dirty war. The kind of war that kept our ancestors alive when everything tried to kill them. She pressed a button on her desk. A document appeared on every screen. It was labeled Protocol Pandora. This contains every weapon we swore never to use again. Every tactic we called too cruel. Every method we said was inhuman. We sealed these away because we wanted to be better than our past. But these aliens don't want peace. They want to kill us. So we unseal the box. Admiral Taewon read the document. His face went pale. Then he nodded. Ma'am, if we do this, the galaxy will know what we are. Good, Hyejin said. Let them know. Let every species who thinks about attacking Earth know exactly what we are. We're the species that survived every disaster our planet threw at us. We're the species that went from throwing rocks to splitting atoms in just a few thousand years. We're the species that turned killing into an art form, and only stopped because we ran out of enemies. She looked directly at the camera that would broadcast her message to Earth. Send my response to the Velkari, she said. Tell them Earth refuses their ultimatum. Tell them we choose to fight. Ma'am, said a general from Asia, they'll think we're insane. President Hyejin smiled. It was not a happy smile. Let them think that. Fear is a weapon too. The 72 hours passed slowly. Across Earth, people prepared. Families moved to bunkers. Soldiers loaded weapons. Factories that made cars and computers switched to making missiles and bombs. Old submarines were pulled from museums and loaded with weapons that hadn't been used in 100 years. The Velkari watched all this from orbit. Their commanders were confused. Why weren't the humans begging for mercy? Why were they preparing to fight? Didn't they understand they were about to die? High Commander of the Velkari fleet stood on his flagship. He looked at the blue planet below. In 300 years of conquest, no species had ever refused his offer. They all surrendered eventually. These humans would too. They just needed to see his power first. Time is up, he said to his officers. Begin the attack. Show them what happens to those who refuse the Dominion. The Velkari fleet moved toward Earth, weapons charged. Shields powered up. 300 warships ready to bring destruction. But on Earth, Admiral Taewon watched them come. He thought about his grandfather who fought in wars long ago, about his grandmother who survived disasters, about all the humans who came before him. They survived ice ages. They survived plagues. They survived themselves. All forces, he said into his communicator. Engage the enemy. Show them what happens when you wake up a sleeping monster. The war for Earth had begun.